Jamaica's new Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Christopher Tufton, has called on the island's entrepreneurs to pay more attention to market intelligence and the certification of their products in order to compete internationally. Dr. Tufton was speaking at the launch of the Jamaican leg of the World Investment Report on Tuesday, July 26, 2011.
But it's critical, however, that the entrepreneurs who are attracted to that particular investment model do a couple of things for themselves. After all, it is a partnership, and that partnership requires work on both sides. First of all, in an increasingly competitive environment, we are going to have to spend more time in allowing ourselves to be driven by market information. Intelligence gathering of the marketplace, both locally and internationally, is absolutely important. And you are being here today to witness the launch of this publication is an indication that you have an interest in seeing what the trends are and how they are developing within the global environment as it relates to investments and the form that it's taking. It is that market information that will allow you to customize and to develop offerings to consumers who increasingly have choices to make and can exercise their right to make choices as it relates to which product they support or don't support. Again, from JAM perspective, as said by our Vice President earlier, we want to assist in that process of intelligence gathering and disseminating of information on critical sectors, including the productive sector. And we invite you to partner with us where we can provide critical flows of information between yourselves and ourselves in order to facilitate better and more scientific decision making. There's another area that I think is important, and that is the process of certification. In my brief tenure in this capacity, I have met with a number of stakeholders in an attempt to appreciate the critical dynamics that drives industry and commerce and investment in Jamaica. And one of the gaps that I quickly identified based on those consultations is the extent to which a number of our local entities do not possess the documentation that symbolizes or their meeting critical criteria that allows them to compete in the international marketplace. In fact, I go further to say we take it for granted. Now, it is not that we don't have quality products, don't get me wrong, but there is no documentation to certify that these products represent quality. And oftentimes, because there's not an emphasis on exports, where you have to meet certain critical sanitary and phytosanitary rules, and increasingly so, it is not looked at as a priority. And one of the messages that I think is important to get out is that whether or not you're exporting or just catering to a local market, you are exposed to competitive activity that involves other products, other goods and services that may not originate locally, but originate from abroad. And increasingly too, because we are increasingly an international economy, benefiting from critical sectors like tourism, certification is going to play a critical role in consumer preference. One of the things I've asked the Bureau of Standards to do, and they're to get back to me on that in short order, is to develop a program that will seek to take the message of certification to the marketplace, to entities, in an attempt to stimulate awareness in the first instance, but also to get buy-in to the process, because increasingly we believe it's going to be important in pushing the competitiveness of companies and products throughout the world.
Jamaica's Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Dr. Christopher Tufton, speaking at the launch of the World Investment Report in Kingston on July 26, 2011. The report found, among other things, that though foreign direct investment globally rose moderately to nearly $1.25 trillion in 2010, FDIs were still 15% below the pre-2008 levels. Closer to home, the World Investment Report found that foreign direct investment inflows to the Caribbean fell by 26% in 2010. For Business Content Jamaica, I'm Owen James.